please feel free to comment below with questions and if we can help in any way. But what I was going to be talking about was about assessments. That question was asked this morning. If you do an assessment and you get a different result than what you're looking for, if maybe your child is in, let's just say, for instance, 3rd grade, and their reading level is at a 1st grade level, or maybe they're in 2nd grade and the reading level is in a kindergarten level or a 1st grade level, not quite in that range that you're wanting, that is at their official grade level. One thing that I notice whenever I talk to people sometimes, and we're talking about grade level, and they're calling their child a 3rd grader based on what they were doing maybe at a private school or a public school, or even a different homeschool program before. And sometimes I'm talking to someone and I find out they're calling their 3rd grader a 3rd grader, and the student might be 6 or 7, or it's a whole variety of ages. I've heard, a range of ages. So I would look at their age range too and think about whether they are on where they are. It's easy to think of 3rd grade and think that it should be this standardized thing, but just really take into account the developmental changes that happen from the beginning of the year with a young kindergartner to the end of the year, that there's so much development that happens. And the same for 1st grade and 2nd grade, especially those early years. Okay. So that's something I would really think about, less about the grade level and more about think about their age as well. That factors in. The other thing to think about is also if they are truly at, you do an assessment and they are in that 1st grade range. If you're thinking about where to start, I really do think that start where it's comfortable for them, and that may be hard. You're kind of wanting them to be further along, and so it might be tempting to kind of push ahead. But I would say if you start at that level that is going to be encouraging for them and easy for them, they're going to make gains and grow as you go through, and the timeline can be different. Than it may not take a full year to get to the next level, because at some point in their reading development, when things begin to click, that pace just takes off. And so that has happened to me with a reader that I was really thinking about, oh wow, I thought he would be further at this stage than he is, and I was kind of maybe impatient with the timeline just a little bit of the development. It's like when you're trying to potty train and it's not happening, or you're trying to, for anything, when they're learning to walk, when they're learning to talk, all of those developmental things. Reading is very much developmental, and when all those skills and all of those mystery pieces pop into place and they're able to do it, they're able to start, their reading takes off. I do think that it will be the best thing to start where they are and just build from there. So, and just be encouraged that that timeline isn't going to, necessarily take as long. Like if they're at a 1st grade level now, try to think about, where they'll be at the end of the year, and think about that growth, and be encouraged that it may not just be 1 year of growth if they are making up for some skills that they're covering that are not quite on the level that you want it to be, if that makes sense. I do think that it's encouraging. It encouraged me. I dealt with this it's a very much a language arts related thing. My son had a medical thing that happened to him that affected his language. So basically he lost years of language development, or more than a year of language development as a little guy, as a toddler. And so he had to regain that language. They had to use some speech therapy that people use sometimes for strokes when a person is recovering in the older years from a stroke. Those techniques helped my son learn to put a sentence together. And so he had some serious speech therapy. And I was encouraged by a preschool teacher at one point about his development, that, while his development was going to be on a different timeline, basically, than his peers, because the rate, and it really held true, his rate was faster of learning because we were working on that skill, and he was regaining language. We may go months with very little progress, and then just, like it would happen really fast. And so just be encouraged. Those language arts skills that are coming along, every child is on their own timetable. And so the main thing I would tell this mom that was asking about which level today, she sent me a private message and she asked me about this. He or she, the child was on this certain level and really 2 years maybe below what their grade level is. And I would say start where they are and just know that the pace may be faster. And that happened certainly with my son. I started for read alouds, even for his history, Bible, and literature, I was very discouraged by where we needed to start with him but his attention span, I just had to be honest about his attention span, start with a level that made sense for him. And then over time, he did get into that age range that's recommended by Sonlight. And so at the time that he was doing read alouds that were below his grade, official grade range, my son's math and reading was at grade level, but just that listening part was so hard for him at first, his attention span, his tolerance of words. And so just start where they are. That's the best thing I can say, and go with where they truly are. Be honest about that and meet them where they are, and then bring them along at their pace. And you will be surprised, I think, by these surges that happen in their development, and you'll be encouraged over time. I think that holds true for many of the language arts skills: reading, speaking, vocabulary, their tolerance for listening, that literature read aloud part, all of those things. And so just start where they are and go from there. I had another question that I saw, just since I'm doing this later, I happened to see a question about when you're getting an instructor's guide that has changed over time, and it looks larger at one point and then smaller the next year. And for her, I think she had a 5-day versus a 4-day, and she was wondering what the big, why it was such a big difference. And I would say that if you check out 120, there's a big difference this is one example of why the guides may be different. We had a book for 120, a book series for American history in high school that required a lot of commentary. If anybody's been through that, I talked to a mom this year in the booth who has been through 120, and her son's, all of the notes from 120. And if you've done that and you love John like we do, he had lots of notes for 120, the old. And so, and I love those notes. But there were a lot of notes, and there was a lot of commentary to go along with that 120, that older level. So, and we all kind of, it's funny to see the new, and it isn't as big, and it's because of the change of the spine. There's a new spine now, and it doesn't require all of the notes that went along with 120 previously. So sometimes it relates to, some of that is going to relate to book changes, and whether, if we're applying critical thinking to the way that maybe an author covered a topic. Some authors are going to need more commentary than others. And so basically, I think that's one of the big changes. 4-day is going to be a true 4-day program. It's going to be a complete program. And if you see that it's smaller, there could be a number of reasons. So I just listed one. Others may chime in with other reasons, but I just wanted to let you know that I saw that question, and I hope that the person, I'll try to tag the person that asked about that so that they see this. So if you have other questions, these are great questions. Feel free to ask over the over the summer here. We're going to gear up in the fall, but we're closing out and starting off the summer here. And so if you're still going along, still, send your questions for this semester or next semester if you're still going this year, or if you're starting, gearing up to start in the fall. Ask whatever questions you have, and we will chime in. And also, if you're in the group and you're, I will tell you that just for you personally, chime in and share your experience with other Sonlighters. That has been a big part of my homeschool journey. Sometimes it hasn't been. I have been hugely encouraged by the advisors at Sonlight and people like the mentor team that we have here. I always do this. I'm Christy from the mentor team. If we haven't met, I know a lot of people are starting new and I forget to introduce myself. This is a theme. But I am Christy. I'm from the mentor team. And if sometimes it hasn't been an official person from a Sonlight mentor team or an advisor, it's a mom from somewhere in the world, sometimes on the other side of the world, that says the most profound thing, and it may be a small thing to them that has helped me over the years. So this community can be helpful to each other. And so if you have an idea, if you have a question, ask. I promise other people around the world are asking the same question, and we can get a lot of encouragement from that. So chime in, join in, and we're glad you're here, and we hope that your summer is off to a great start. And thank you for your patience today. If you missed, or if you were a part of that earlier, I'm so sorry, and I hope you have a great day.